You're watching Let's Chat.
A lot of folks are getting ready to do their end of the year financial checklist and realize that Social Security is right upon them. And there may be a few things you're not familiar with when it comes to applying, retaining, and maximizing your Social Security. So we turn to Ryan Womack with Warren and Griffin.
Good to see you.
Good to see you, Ryan.
Merry Christmas.
Where do we start on this applying for Social Security? How far in advance should we start?
So what I'm looking at is looking at it from the aspect of Social Security disability law, and that's where we have a worker who has become unable to actually work anymore. And so Social Security disability is set up to where they can potentially apply for those types of benefits and hopefully have kind of a safety net there for them if they can no longer work.
Who decides if they can no longer work? How is that process executed?
Yeah, so the Social Security Disability Office, you can apply online, hopefully with the help of an attorney. It's all rules-based. And so what happens is they will review those claims. They're going to look at your medical records. They'll take into consideration things like your age, your background, your education, your past work. And then they will make a determination as to whether or not you win or lose. The downside about that process is that most people do not win the first or second time. And so an attorney can help them in terms of getting them through the rules process to hopefully get them to win.
And why do most people not get approved the first or second time?
Yeah, it can be technical issues in terms of they don't qualify in terms of insurance built up in order to meet Social Security's rules. They can maybe not have enough medical records. They can potentially just not understand how the rules operate, because a lot of this can depend upon your age and your education, your background, and your past work. And if you don't understand those rules, it can be very difficult for a lot of people.
So tell me what an attorney brings to the table when you're applying for this first time out.
Yeah, absolutely. An attorney, you can just look at the statistics. People with an attorney are more likely than not going to get approved over someone that is unrepresented. An attorney knows the rules of Social Security disability and how that operates. They can walk that person through what they need in order to win. And then if we have to, we can go to a hearing before an administrative law judge, and we do hundreds of these hearings every year. We know exactly what questions to ask and what Social Security is looking for in that judge to make the appropriate decision.
So that is a fairly cut and dried process.
It is in terms of the process and the technical aspect, but the complexity of the rules is very difficult for people to get through.
I wouldn't want to try it on my own. What's the biggest mistake most people make when they're applying the first time around, at least?
Yeah, I think to me it's probably a lack of understanding how important their medical treatment is and medical records. Medical records are the most important thing, because what you're having to do is you're showing Social Security, the administration, that you have these medical records built up that they do actually meet a rule of disability. Sometimes everybody knows that they can't work anymore, but they don't have the records to back up those claims. So that's the most important thing.
What are one of the two of the most important things to keep in mind when you're getting ready to walk down this road?
Yeah, I would say number one is going to be the medical treatment. Number two is going to be understanding how the rules operate and what they look for. What Social Security is looking for is they're looking for people's functional limitations in their abilities to work, things like sitting and standing and walking and pushing and pulling and lifting and all the postural activities that it takes for you and I to be able to perform the functions of a job. So they need to think about their claims from that perspective, less about their actual diagnoses.
What if they're injured getting close to time to file for Social Security anyway?
Yeah.
Does the age factor come into play on this?
Age is a massive factor. The average age of someone who is actually winning in 2023 was 55.9. So generally speaking, the older you are, the better, because Social Security's rules tend to change and they make it a little bit easier for people that have aged a little bit to win. The younger you are, the rules are stacked far against you. We do win those claims, but it's a little bit more difficult, and which is again why it's so important to have representation in a claim like that.
How long does that whole process take to set an appointment up with you and for you to execute the paperwork with the Social Security disability folks?
This is one of the downsides about Social Security. For their initial application, it can take up to a year to get that initial application reviewed. For the whole process to get through to me before we see an administrative law judge, that process can take 2 years.
Wow.
And so it is a journey, which again is why it's so important to understand the rules of disability, having your medical treatment in line, and really truly having representation to help you get through that process.
And understand this is not going to be a quick kind of thing. Once you start down this road, it's going to take a while to get to the end.
Patience is a virtue for sure.
Ryan, thanks so much for joining us. Get in touch with Ryan if you would like more information. You can find him at Chattanooga's 5-star law firm, Warren and Griffin. Call him 265-HURT, 265-HURT. We're back with more of Let's Chat after this.